Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right show. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, reporting for duty. Indeed. Look, I'm going to get to the Gavin Newsom, Charlie Kirk thing because obviously I am revolted. And I have some, well, I'll get to it in just a moment. But before I do, can you believe, speaking of disgraced governors of this country, Andrew Cuomo now trying to become the next mayor of New York City, and he's leading in the race. He's leading in the Quinnipiac poll. This is crazy. Mayor Adams, who has recently cozied up to Trump, got a presidential pardon. Well, not a pardon, but had the Trump DOJ drop the case against Mayor Adams. Has gone on to say, his approval rating is 20%, according to Quinnipiac. And 56% of voters in New York City think that Adams ought to resign. This is wild stuff. First off, Andrew Cuomo, a.k.a. Q-Tip. Look. I thought he was the face of everything wrong about COVID. Like, if you could think of one prominent U.S. politician that absolutely screwed the pooch when it came to COVID, would it not be Andrew Cuomo? This is a guy whose brilliant idea goes, oh, you know what? If we have seniors who are suffering from COVID, you know what we're going to do? We're going to free up beds in hospitals, and we're going to send those infected seniors into, wait for it, nursing homes. That was Mayor Cuomo. That was his idea of how to keep people safe during COVID. Of course, what happened? Literally the most susceptible group, because it wasn't kids, it wasn't fourth graders, okay? It was the fatties and the old people that were the most susceptible to COVID. I mean, I hate to be rude about this, but science, the thing that we're all supposed to believe in circa 2020, sort of caught up to that conclusion. And so, remember, this is wild. So he was taking, infected seniors and putting them into a place where other seniors, susceptible seniors, were. And people died off in droves. There are thousands of families across the state of New York who lost parents and grandparents, brothers and sisters, spouses because of Andrew Cuomo. And this guy wants to now be mayor of New York. How do you, only in the Democratic Party do you fail upward? Well, from governor to mayor, I would argue that actually being the mayor of New York is a more prestigious and in some ways a more powerful position than being the governor. And by the way, did we not forget that this guy was like a serial groper, a complete lecher? Every young woman in his office. This guy's like in his, how old is he, Robbie? Is he 60-something? And he's perving on 20-year-old girls. I'm not immoral. I'm just telling you, the guy is gross. I wouldn't send, a daughter or, family friend of mine to work anywhere in his orbit. He's a gross. And I call him Q-Tip. Well, you remember when he was doing those ridiculous appearances on his brother's CNN show. So he was on Chris Cuomo's show, and Chris Cuomo did had the giant Q-tip on, like making fun of the fact that Andrew Cuomo has a giant schnoz. People were dying, and these two A-wipes were clowning. Just gross. And when I guess Robbie, this is what ultimately irks me about Newsom. Because as we sit here, and I am delighted, friends, of course, being Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, I can tell you a thing or two. about my years in the Communist Republic of California. Yes, there is a reason there is a red star on the California flag. So, for me, Gavin Newsom, I want to rewind a little bit so you all understand where I'm coming from. I came to California against my will at 3 years old, and the year was 1983. That's when I got to California. And by the way, back in 1983, early 80s, a beautiful state. We still had Republicans running things. It was the number one growth economy in the country. Things were happening. By the way, I was born in Chicago. My parents left with little infant baby Sam, fled the city of Chicago, get the hell out because it was not looking good, even back then. Went to Durham, North Carolina, lived there briefly. And what brought us to California? Economic opportunity. My mom had a job offer from a company called Allergan, a very famous, big, large pharmaceutical company. But that's where the jobs were. Literally. California was one big boom state. And I watched this over the course of my lifetime. I watched things get better and better and better in California. And with good times, weak people weaken. And for some reason, ideologies like leftism, wokeism, and the like take root because people have plenty of money and time on their hands, and they start to find ways to invent problems. And leftism really is, when you boil it all down, there's a series of invented problems, particularly now, right? Anybody that tells you, oh, my litmus test for a politician is transgenderism. So the 0.03% of the population that actually might have some autogynephilia problems, that's who we need to be worried about. Invented problems. People want something to fight for and to argue about and to support, and a cause. Everybody needs a cause. So that's where the left, really came about in California, because everybody needed a cause. All right. They couldn't just be happy with good times and great weather. So then I remember, this is just the history of Sam in California. I remember coming of age. I'm in high school. Obviously, I'm a political guy, observant, but not just observant. I'm engaged. I'm politically engaged. And at some point in time, I had missed obviously, I'd missed the first era of Jerry Brown, the wingnut era of Jerry Brown. Moonbeam, right? Governor Moonbeam, missed it. And all of a sudden, Governor Moonbeam comes back. He's going to come and run again for governor. And I remember going, oh my gosh, this is going to be the end of the world. And it was bad. I mean, he wasn't good, objectively wasn't good. And there was this young politician who was mayor of San Francisco, and then he became lieutenant governor, and his name was Gavin Newsom. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this Moonbeam guy's bad. This Newsom guy is going to be even worse. Oh my goodness. I hope he doesn't get elected governor. Well, we're now in the second term of Gavin Newsom in California. And look, we're a mere, 42 miles away from state line from my office. It's give or take, fairly close. Nevada, here in beautiful southern Nevada in the city of Las Vegas, too close for comfort to the insanity to the immediate left of us. And I bring this up because I've often thought of the parallels between Biden and Governor Moonbeam. We thought that Newsom was, I'm getting ahead of myself. We thought that Joe Biden was bad, right? Because he was, right? We can't qualify it. He was. The last 4 years of Joe Biden have been atrocious. Now imagine 4 to 8 years of Gavin Newsom. Take it from me, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. You thought Joey was bad? Gavin is going to be awful. I don't know that our country could recover from it. So Gavin Newsom's fighting off a recall effort. This recall effort, I'll be honest with you, is a problem for him, because I know a number of folks in California who post fires, the horrific fires in LA County, Pacific Palisades, and the Altadena fire, other flashpoints around, but the two main fires there, really feel it's finally gotten to them that Gavin Newsom is an empty vat of nothingness, and that it's all for show. He's got nothing upstairs, zero, except his own political ambition. And there's some enduring imagery, right? There's him grimacing and doing the little shoulder dance when talking about the developers coming in. Oh, we don't want any developers from coming in to redevelop these properties. And we're having these executive orders of his, these vetoes, come back to life, showing how he wanted parts of Los Angeles to not be developed. He wanted to encourage the state of California to build around intermodals, around public transportation, read urbanization. That he literally, as a matter of state policy, we talk about the water and about the lack of brush clearing. He literally wanted it all to burn. And it's not me being, I'm not exaggerating here or being some anti-Newsom guy. I'm just telling you flat out. It's not a conspiracy. Gavin Newsom and his cabal of Democrats didn't just contribute to the fires. They intended for them to happen, because for them, it is an opportunity for urban renewal and creating their wet dream of having all of us ride around in buses or trams or trains or whatever and getting out of our cars. Now, Gavin Newsom will always roll around in a giant V8 suburban SUV, armored, no doubt, for his protection, because, of course, he's the king. But for you and I, we're the peasants. So we get to ride in the little trams, and Newsom and the mayor of LA and all these other bozos that rule over us will ride around in comfort. Okay? I'm just setting the scene. Now, I have to take a break here before Robbie screams at me. But look, I'm setting the stage because I thought Charlie Kirk absolutely should not have done this interview. And I love Charlie Kirk. I just think that he should never have done this. These cretins on the left should not be legitimized by us. And Gavin Newsom knew exactly what he was doing. And I'll get to this here. I'll play the relevant portions of this interview. We should not be giving them a platform. And Charlie's, by the way, way too successful with his platform to have to really, honestly, give any credence, credibility whatsoever to Gavin Newsom. That's my hot take on this. I reserve the right to change my mind here as I think about it some more, but I'm fired up today. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Robbie, so many years of just doing a radio show, audio only. Now that there's a camera, that we have a Sam Cam, I notice I'm like been rubbing my nose a lot lately. I feel like Zelensky visiting the White House, or Don Jr., but it's not that. It's my cold that I'm still trying to get rid of. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone and in front of the Sam Cam. That's what we ought to call it, right? Well, where can you, by the way, if you go on Spotify and look up the What's Right show, you can get the podcast, right? You can watch the show even. You listen to it. You don't have to watch the video, but you get a video too of me, so you can see what I'm what I look like here in my studio, in my lair. Okay. So Newsom sits down with Charlie Kirk. Newsom is doing a podcast because nothing says I am serious about fixing the state of California post one of the greatest single tragedies to befall the Golden State, like doing a podcast. I'm not belittling. Listen, look, I'm just running a law firm over here, and I take 2 hours off a day to do a talk show. Okay? Gavin Newsom's running the whole gosh dang state. It's 40 million people. Do you have time to do a podcast? The answer is he's trying to win this recall, and he is positioning himself for the next gig, which is the presidency. That's what he's going to do. I would not be, look, if I had to be a betting man right now based on where it is, it's going to be J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom looks, I'll tell you this, it's not my cup of tea. I've heard him talk so many times. I've seen him. I've interacted with him. Blah. I'm disgusted by him. He is empty nothingness to me defined, personified. But, oh, and did you see how sweaty his armpits were on this podcast, Robbie? His entire pits were stained with sweat. It's like, use some antiperspirant, bro. What is this? But yeah, Charlie Kirk was making him sweat. But here's my quick take on it. We're going to be up against the bottom of the hour break, so I'll play the clip that was, I think, the most important from it in a moment. But I look at this. I look. Look, Charlie Kirk is phenomenal. And what does Kirk do? His entire platform was built on going to college campuses and debating, college kids. And ask me anything, right? Let's debate any topic. Like, let's go at it. He's been very, very good at this. And I'm not here to slam Charlie Kirk, but I just don't think, right, sitting down and having, chewing the fat with Gavin Newsom is good for Charlie Kirk's brand. Because Newsom is not some college kid. This is a guy who is running the state of California. This is a guy, the state of California, because we're going to get into the trans issue. The big news, of course, is that on this, show, Gavin Newsom announced that he now thinks that it's unfair for men, trans women, quote unquote, to compete against girls in sport. Okay. But this isn't me talking. This isn't you, Robbie, talking. This isn't even Charlie Kirk talking. We just are guys with opinions, with varying levels of following, but that's it. Gavin Newsom's literally the executive of the most populous state in the country that has been so diabolically involved in the advancement of trans rights at the expense of common sense, and certainly at the expense of women and girls throughout the state. Remember, this is a state that literally gives safe harbor to a runaway teen that says, oh, my parents won't let me transition. Oh, well, let's talk. Maybe we can find a way of protecting you. California is the state that has repeatedly sided with, a child against parents, or the mother against the father, or the father against the mother, as long as the outcome is the kid has his stuff chopped off or added on, depending on the starting point. So it just blows my mind that this guy can sit here. And I don't know, did Charlie could push back on it a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. I was blown away by it, Robbie. Okay, I want to get to the full clips of it because it's, folks, trust me, this is important to digest and to discuss because Gavin Newsom, mark my words, is going to be the leading candidate, the Democratic leading candidate in 2028. It's going to happen. just buckle up. And the less we do to advance him, the less we help him rehabilitate his image, the better. This guy's a radical. All right, the What's Right show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. We'll be back in a moment. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends, and happy Thursday. Email sam@samandashlaw.com. You can find me on Twitter, now known as X, at What's Right Sam. And, of course, the podcast of this program on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, What's Right Show. All of this brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. If you're ever in an accident, if you're hurt, don't go at it alone. Don't trust one of those ultra-liberal woke law firms to go against an ultra-liberal woke insurance company and hope that at the end you get what's right. It just will not happen. I highly recommend you call the law firm that cares about its clients. I can vouch for this because it's my firm. That's right. I am the Sam of Sam and Ash Injury Law. Started this firm with my partner, Ash Watkins, 5 years ago, and we love what we do. So please, you need advice, even if it's just, want to run something by us, call or email. The phone number, whether it happened in California or Nevada, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Now, libs of TikTok discovered a video. It wasn't discovery, but it's just this video of Democrats dancing. And it's all about women. I guess they're all women. And they just like jump into the frame, and then it's the next female member of Congress jumps in the frame, and they keep jumping and jumping and jumping. It's like a flea circus. And what's that, Robbie? Oh, I see. See, I don't play video games. This is the problem, Robbie. I'm a complete video game idiot. They're like, Robbie's telling me they're like video game players that, when they jump on the screen, then you can click select. Oh, I think I want who? Well, Susie Lee appears. Here's my point, right? Susie Lee. Nevada's 3rd congressional district, Susie Lee. Whoa. First of all, nobody would pick Susie Lee. Why do we have the worst, one exception, the worst congressional delegation? We have the 2 dumbest, most worthless senators, and Susie Lee, and Dina Titus, who's, looks like she fell off a horse. And this is what we've got. And all these people, no matter how nice and pleasant they are, when an election rolls around, they oh, hi, Sam, hi, we talk, and, here I am being rude to people who've always been socially very nice to me. But here's the problem. Then they go to Washington and they vote with Joe Biden or whatever lunatic is in office 98% of the time. This is absolutely humiliating. Choose your fighter. Okay. Thank you, Robbie, for explaining that to me. So, 4 years from now, less actually, America will be choosing its next fighter. And regrettably, it looks like, unless we get some changes to our Constitution, it's not going to be Donaldus Maximus. I wish Trump could pull an FDR at this point. Just inject 4 terms of Trump right into my veins. But it's probably not going to happen. So what are we going to get? We're going to get a showdown between, I think at this point, fairly obvious, J.D. Vance, and then someone on the Democratic side, which I think Gavin Newsom is a strong contender. Now, Newsom's fighting off this recall effort. I mentioned him going on Charlie Kirk, and I don't want to stall this any longer because Newsom had some moments in this interview that I'd like to highlight. And here we go. Here's how Here's how the fire. By the way, I'll start with this one. Newsom asks if there are any Democrats that Charlie Kirk admires. Now, remember, this is Newsom's podcast, so Newsom is actually technically the one asking questions, even though he's not very good at it. So Kirk, who is an experienced and savvy media operator, does it. So here's what happens.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect. Bobby Kennedy type? I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because they're on our team now. Because you guys kicked out your best people. It's like the people that were into. This is a great point, though, Governor. Is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get him out. He's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, who was an anti-war. Get her out. She's a Russian agent. Yeah. Do you guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other? And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote, because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
Is Newsom the most insufferable cat you've ever met? I mean, this guy is, how many yeast infections do you think he's had, Robbie? I don't know. He's just so yuck and so effeminate in all the yuck. Okay. What do I not like about this? One, Charlie Kirk is explaining to him, right? This is a good question, right? To ask somebody that you disagree with. All right, so is anybody on my side of the aisle? Okay, I realize you disagree with me. Anybody on my side of the aisle that you don't get along, you admire? Okay, the opposite, right? It's a good question. But it tees up an opportunity for Gavin Newsom to side with those people and come across as conciliatory. And remember, I call this the Fetterman complex, right? That we in America, we're constantly told by the media that we've never been more divided than right now. And tomorrow we're going to be told again, we've never been more divided than right now. And a year from now, we're going to be told the same thing. But so we have this complex because of this as Americans, that we want to be bipartisan. There's something because we're nice, actually. Americans are good people. We don't want conflict with everybody. So we don't, right? But by and large, I don't mind conflict. For me, truth matters. So I care about truth. I believe there is a truth. And if I'm going to get along with a Democrat friend because we have an interest that is separate from politics, I'll just not talk about politics with them. And you can totally do that, by the way. But you don't have to look for common ground. And you might find some. I'm not saying you won't. But we have this desire as Americans to come up with consensus. And that's why the flabby, stupid people in the middle are praising this and going, oh, it's so wonderful. Look at that. Gavin Newsom sat down with Charlie Kirk. And what's the problem? Well, back to, bringing up Fetterman. Fetterman occasionally says the right thing. For example, the other day when Trump tweeted out, Shalom Hamas, that means goodbye, hello and goodbye. And basically, you MFers, if you don't, give us hostages back, sayonara, which is not Hebrew. And people and Fetterman saw the tweet and goes, I'm with the president on that. I'm all for him. And everybody, so many conservatives, right? So many Republicans, so many Trump voters will suddenly go, oh, Fetterman, he's making sense. Oh my goodness. He supports us this one way. But when it comes to the stuff that matters, you think Fetterman, stood up for trans, the trans ban in sports, stood up for young girls getting pummeled by men? No, he didn't. And speaking of that issue here, Charlie Kirk allowed Newsom to rehabilitate himself in an interview that no doubt is going to be seen millions and millions of times. And I thought this was just absolutely an embarrassment.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports,
right.
that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
That's me vomiting all over that answer. Working backwards, forwards. Number one, this guy Gavin Newsom acts like he has no power. Oh, how do we figure this out? I don't know, genius. Weren't you governor for 6 years? What the literal F? Sorry, getting a little worked up here. And Charlie Kirk, come on, you're letting him do, this is bullcrap. California under Gavin Newsom has the most progressive, anti-family, pro-trans agenda of any state in the country. And that matters to me because I know people that have been affected by this in California. I used to live there. We got out when my kids were getting to a certain age, in part because I didn't want them going to a school, being in a school system that was governed by these crazy pro-trans Democrats. And it's not about, again, and Kirk doesn't even get to it. The whole idea, it's not about, we're being mean to trans people. There are, yes, it has to be said, some serious mental problems facing the trans community. But guess what? What came first, right? The chicken or the egg, right? Are they trans because of their mental problems, maybe? So the Democrats have driven this home. This is their hill to die on, and we're just going to let him give it up like this and not hold him accountable to 6 years of governance, of history? Not on my watch. I wouldn't give him an inch. Gavin Newsom has me on his show. I'll come in guns blazing. So he won't. Trust me. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. All right, I'm getting the emails. Everybody's flagging me. Apparently, the clips that I played did not play. So here's the thing. They're going to be in the podcast. You will want to listen to this. So go and get on Spotify. You can start a free account. Doesn't have to pay any money for it. What's Right Show. Find us there. Apple Podcast, the same thing. So look for us there. And then we actually, reminded by Lakin of this, we're on YouTube. You can find at What's Right Show on YouTube. We're there. So look, if you find the clips, but all of my commentary stands on this issue. So it is what it is. Now here's another one. Charlie Kirk brought up the cleanup of San Francisco for President Xi. Remember, President Xi was coming to San Francisco, and all of a sudden they magically were able to clear all the bums. They scraped all the human poops off the ground. Everything got cleaned up. It was beautiful. The city was sparkling for the dictator of Les Chinois to come in, drive to his hotel, go to the conference, and leave. And as soon as President Xi left, it went right back to a open-air drug den / public toilet. Here's Charlie Kirk bringing it up.
why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you can't clean it up?
Guys, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. That was, you know what? I will happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets as clean as Xi Jinping?
In this case, weaponized.
Can I
in this case, weaponized.
Can I get the Xi Jinping streets
ridiculous. Give me a break.
No, but Governor, with all due respect, I saw a beautiful picture of San Francisco that looked like Singapore. By the way, and then Xi Jinping leaves, and the Walking Dead come back.
By the way, it was APAC. You had dozens and dozens of foreign leaders, and California is not San Francisco. But I am the governor of California, not the mayor of California, not the mayor of San Francisco.
You were the mayor, but I just want to understand why is it that we were able to clean it up? But you have to admit, it's emblematic of something that if enough important people show up, it can get clean. So why not make it clean all the time?
Yeah, okay, great point. The guy, do you see what a lightweight Newsom is? Oh, counterpoint. He's embarrassing. And honestly, I'm surprised. Like, to me, I don't know. To me, I would have pushed back far more forcefully. Just saying. Okay. By the way, Newsom goes, okay, we did clean it up for President Xi of China. We did.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
Well, there you go. Charlie Kirk didn't bring that one up. So there it is. I don't know. Look, here's the problem, right? One of the most devastating ads to run in this last election cycle against Kamala Harris was this. And I think it really resonated with people.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris is for they, them. Donald Trump is for you. That's, I got to tell you, that was devastating. And by the way, at one point in the interview, Newsom acknowledges this. He calls this ad out, and he says this is one of the most, that was one of the most devastating things. And Kamala never answered it, right? She never disavowed her previous position. She just kind of danced her way around it. But I'm telling you, and trust me, this is what the Gavin Newsom, Andrew Cuomo, right? All of these, these lockdown, left-wing, crazy Democrats who now are trying to rehabilitate their image and run for office again. Cuomo, of course, in New York City as for mayor, and then you have Gavin Newsom here, who is trying to save his hide, stay in the governorship, and of course then position himself to be the party's front runner in the 2028 presidential election. He absolutely will be running. There's no question about it. I think even if he gets booted from California, he'll still run. This guy's ego is enormous. I'm not saying he's going to win the primary, but he's going to run in the primary for sure. By the way, Newsom has ordered California state workers back 4 days a week. He's becoming almost Trumpian. Isn't this interesting? Absolutely wild. See, Newsom will have to lie. It won't be enough to just slightly pivot. Newsom will have to lie and or disavow his entire, career so far, because he's never had to compete against the rest of America. I think we all recognize that California is sort of a unique place. And the reason it's unique is because there's so many crazy leftists that you can run as a medium leftist and win. And most importantly, right now we've got the open primary in California. So you're seeing, right, you end up with 2 Democrats running in the general election, which, by the way, there was a risk of happening here in Nevada. Thank goodness we dodged that bullet. Let me tell you, I watched that be one of the giant death knells of California conservatism, because it's awful, right? Democrats come in and they mobilize and they take the 2 top spots in the primaries, and you don't even have a choice in the general. So there it is. All right, friends, let's take a break. Top of the hour here. Don't worry, another hour ahead. What's Right show coming straight at you. By the way, you see all these charging stations, these Tesla dealerships also that are being torched and vandalized. Interesting movement. Let's talk about that when we come back. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. At What's Right Sam on X. Follow me there, please, for up-to-the-minute commentary. In fact, I just posted a hilarious video of Boris Johnson trying to open an umbrella. Yes, well, I came up with a pithy caption, I think. So see if you guys like that. Anyway, here we go. I have to, before I get to this DOGE resistance, because that's what this really is. I mean, this vandalism of Tesla dealerships, the burning of car charging stations, all of this making people really mad because, of course, I thought the entire thing here was we wanted to have electric cars, drive around and not pollute. But the left now is forced to basically, cut off their noses to spite their faces, right? So we'll get to that in a second. I just had here absolutely hilarious. Did you know that drinking coffee is racist? This is what I'm getting at, folks, with some of this crazy stuff that the left is doing. So yes, there is a giant movement now for in the wake of Black History Month. Is drinking coffee racist? It was created apparently by Black people. This is what this left-wing group is saying, for Black people, and is now a pillar of, wait for it, white capitalism. Wow, actually, they called it white supremacist capitalism, which is I think I've heard is the scariest form of capitalism there is. So if you consume coffee, you are helping an industry built on racism. Folks, I'm here to inform you. So I have my, by the way, I have my Vesta coffee here. Vesta is a local coffee shop here in Las Vegas. No, they do not sponsor me because I think they would probably, Jared would get the, he'd get the vapors if he knew I was talking about him. Remember when Rush Limbaugh would always, prop up Apple products? Rush, like me, I've always been a Mac guy. My parents were Mac people, so I grew up on Macs. I've never owned a PC. At work, I've had PCs, but I've used them. I know how to use them. They're obnoxious. I'm sorry. I'm a Mac person. If you're a PC person, it's okay. We can still be friends. But Rush would always have, he'd always have his Macs. Loved his Macs, loved his iPads, his iPhone. And he would always laugh. He's like, I'm talking about Macs. I'm giving them all this free publicity. And they don't know what to do with it because we're Mac, Apple, very liberal company. And certainly back then. Now, of course, they're cozying up to Trump. But back in the day, they were absolutely 100% Democrats. So Rush would always say, you know what? They're not. I don't know. They don't know what to quite do with all of this publicity I'm giving them. I guess they're grateful, but maybe they aren't. So the same is true with my Vesta. Here I have a mug from them. This is how I keep my. I've gone. The point of the mug, by the way, is not to save the planet. Very clear about this. It's because I think the coffee tastes like crap in the paper cup. It just dissolves in there, and then the plastic and the chemicals and blah. So I put it, and it stays hot for longer in my little trusty thermos. So then I can have one cup of coffee, and I drink a little bit in the morning, and then I have still some left over, reasonably warm, in time to do this program at once. So that's, a little bit of my methodology. Now, speaking of Silicon Valley, Mac and other tech companies being woke and liberal back in the day, one of the great resets right now going on is that Silicon Valley has caught a touch of the MAGA flu. A number of prominent tech oligarchs, if you will, investors, folks are much more conservative today than they ever have been. And that includes Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk used to be a center-left guy. Now, Musk always describes this as him sort of staying in the same spot and having, the basically the whole, political universe shift around him. Conservatives becoming much more common sense, and liberals, of course, abandoning all common sense and moving to the far left and essentially becoming rabies-infected Bolsheviks. So, no, kind of like that. I don't know. There's a little foaming at the mouth and trannies. Well, they don't say trannies, but So what's this all about, right? So now, apparently, the thing to do if you're a crazy leftist and you're pissed about Trump and DOGE and everything else going on is you go and you burn a Tesla. I saw a dealership in France with millions of dollars in Tesla cars inside, torched, burned to the ground. And there was a guy who was vandalizing Teslas in Massachusetts. Apparently, he's been arrested. He is trying to claim, by the way, that this was free speech. That's his expression. This is what happens when we don't teach the Constitution, where we don't teach the fundamentals of our constitutional republic. Speech is not action. And the best example for this, by the way, isn't vandalism of Tesla cars, but is what's going on in these college campuses. Like, I'm the first person who will stand up and defend some crazy Hamas person to say that they're for Hamas. They can say it. I don't want to live in a country that imprisons someone who supports terrorism. I do want to live in a country where that person is free to express it, so I know to stay the hell away from them. And also, that person is here on a temporary visa or does not yet have permanent residency or citizenship, maybe we got to kick them the hell out. But I digress. Freedom to speak, right, has, these college campuses where they're blocking Jewish students from entering their classes. That's not speech. That's assault, kidnapping in some cases, serious felonies. So I hope this guy gets some jail time. Of course, it's Massachusetts, so they'll probably let him off. But why am I bringing all this up? I've been reflecting this week, and I'll get more into it tomorrow. But I feel that the left is really hitting some sort of a meltdown point. How would I put this? You think it's an inflection point of despair almost over how well things are going for Trump. He won. Then they kept hoping that there was going to be some intervening event that prevented Trump from becoming president, but he becomes president. It all goes through. He then holds a almost a rally-like event following his swearing in, where he starts signing executive orders and remaking the country before he even gets to his first inaugural ball. And from that point forward, the leftists have been in a state of disrepair. Now, DOGE is a huge component of this. So a lot of this violence that is getting thrown at Elon Musk is projection, because they see Elon Musk as this person who, by the way, formerly was one of them, now coming around to Trump, supporting Trump, and downsizing, right-sizing the government, however you want to say it. The public support for this is huge. Harry Enton, this morning on CNN, explained just how popular DOGE is. And the host, Kate Boldan, is like blown away by this. She can't believe it. Listen.
This to me was one of the more shocking figures that I saw. Made me go, wait a minute, hold on one second. Whoa, Americans on Trump and Joe's efforts. Musk and DOGE should influence government spending and operations. Look at this. 54%. The majority say that he and they should. How about approve of Trump trying to cut staff at government agencies? Again, you get a majority here. 51%. So yeah, Elon Musk might not be that popular, but these cuts and the idea of spending cuts, at least within the federal government and cutting at government agencies, that actually has majority support. I was truly surprised by this, Kate, but the numbers are the numbers.
Well, there is a view that cuts across Democrat and Republican of people thinking that Washington is too big, bloated federal government, waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, those are drain the swamp is what people run on over and over again. How do they feel? What do they think they're actually cutting?
Yeah, what do they think they're actually cutting? Democrats want to argue that the type of spending that Musk is cutting is mainly necessary programs, but that comes in at just 36%. The wasteful spending actually wins the plurality here at 42%, according to a recent Washington Post Ipsos poll. And I think that is the reason why you see that when it comes to Musk and DOGE, you see, in fact, the majority believe he should have some influence because they believe, the plurality believe, that he is cutting wasteful spending, not necessary programs that Democrats are arguing.
Tomato, tomato. I do like Dusk and Moj, though. I think we need to keep that around. But the definition of wasteful is, I think, what is really starting to come into play.
Correct.
What people, necessary to one is wasteful to another. We are seeing that and finding that. How are Americans feeling about the size of the government?
Yeah, so what is exactly going on here? What is sort of driving these numbers underneath? Government is doing too much or too little. Back in 2020, when Trump lost re-election, 54% said too little. By the time he won re-election in 2024, look at that. Too much won the majority at 55%. It was the inverse. So I think there's this real push from the American public to want spending at the U.S. government to drop. And I think that's part of the reason why they're giving Musk and DOGE that majority, at least at this point, when it comes to his influence over federal government
They're giving
spending.
him running room on this, but that's why I think these numbers show why transparency and what is actually being done and why the problems of they've made mistakes and putting things up on their wall of receipts that didn't actually happen or not, why that is so important and critical.
I think that's exactly right.
Now, I'll tell you my takeaway from this. So 51% think that we need to make these cuts. 42% think that there's wasteful spending. So to me, there's a delta of about 9% there of people that are perfectly fine making cuts even if the spending isn't necessarily wasteful. It's just like balancing your home budget. Not saying that the money that, you know, if you're running out of money and if you're getting into debt, if you're facing bankruptcy, it's not saying that you didn't spend the money on good things. You just can't keep spending more money or else you're done, right? And that's the circumstance that we're in. It doesn't matter how many Tesla dealerships or charging stations you torch, the DOGE or the, what did they call it? The Dusk Moj. The Dusk Moj people are going to continue. Sam Mirejovsky moves. Now I'm all tongue-tied. Yes, I'm just playing on what Harry Enton said. Musk DOGE. Thank you. The What's Right show brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. We'll be back in a moment.
The Sam & Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. By the way, speaking of Elon Musk, the astronauts who have been stranded in space apparently now going on the record that indeed they were left out there to rot by the Biden administration, that Elon Musk had offered to send a SpaceX rocket to the International Space Station to pick them up, but that the Biden administration, not NASA, rejected the deal. And this is what's crazy, right? These people should have been up there for a few weeks, and they were apparently up there, 8 days, one of them, 8 days. And it's been 8 months. History will not be kind to the Biden administration, I think, on these issues. So it's I'm just listening. I'm telling you because I've heard a lot of people in the media say, "Oh no, it wasn't like that," and now the astronauts themselves are speaking out. Barry Wilmore, Sunita Williams arrived at the International Space Station on June 6th and have been stuck there for the last 9 months. It's even longer than 8 months. It's crazy. You imagine spending, weightless space for so long. This would be a terrible thing for them to, experience. I can't even imagine. Absolutely awful. By the way, this Elon Musk, the Trump derangement syndrome now has evolved into Musk derangement syndrome. Representative Marcy Kaptur, Democrat, Ohio, questions Elon's loyalty because he's an immigrant. He's an immigrant. Oh my gosh.
Mr. Musk has just been here 22 years, and he's a citizen of 3 countries. I always ask myself the question, with the damage he's doing here, when push comes to shove, which country is he loyalty to? South Africa? Canada? Or the United States? And he's only been a citizen, I'll say again, 22 years.
Oh, he's an immigrant, a foreigner. By the way, you know what? It's funny because Democrats are the party of Treneregua. Democrats want illegal immigrant gangbanger murderers and rapists in the country. But gosh forbid that we get an immigrant who employs thousands of people and adds billions in gross domestic product to our economy. Gosh forbid. Again, the Democratic Party wants losers. They are the party of losers. They want weak people that, of course, then in turn they can control. It's so obvious. Now, Representative Nydia Velasquez, who is Puerto Rican born herself, tells Musk to go back to Africa, where he belongs. This happened on Monday of this week.
My question to Elon Musk, and what the hell are you doing here in America? Go back to South Africa. Yeah. He's here enriching himself and his company.
Okay, he's enriching himself and his company. I don't think Elon Musk is really making a lot of money on this DOGE thing, is my gut feeling. If anything, his own businesses are suffering because he's cleaning up our mess. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? Can you imagine if this was a Republican saying to a Democrat, go the hell back to Africa or wherever the hell you came from? I remember when B1 Bob Dornan ran against Loretta Sanchez in California for the congressional seat out there. Poor Bob said I've done everything to reach out to the Hispanic community short of wearing a sombrero. Oh, he really said that. Well, it didn't work out very well for him. He got pilloried in the press and he lost at the polls. And by the way, the tables are turning now because I'm looking at these congressional races. I'm looking at some of these districts where the Democrats are freaking out. And I think it's a lot of Hispanic areas that are shifting Republican. And I think that in 2026, they're going to lose the Hispanics. And this Trump deportation, getting Treneregua out of these neighborhoods, you think it's the rich people? I'm gonna talk a little bit here about Vegas. You think it's the rich people behind 3 gates in Summerlin that are affected by Treneregua? Or do you think it's the people on the east side of town that have had it up to their gills getting violated by crazy criminals, newcomer, illegal immigrants? They're looking at what Trump is doing going, yeah, we like it. We like it. The Democrats still believe all of these constituencies belong on their Democrat plantation. It's wrong-headed thinking. Sam Mirejovsky, be right back after this. Greetings, friends, conversationalist Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings. Welcome to the program. I would be remiss if I did not mention today my father. Wishing my father a very happy birthday. It is a big birthday. I think I'll just tell you, 84 years old. Incredible. So, Dad, happy birthday, and thank you for everything that you have done for me. I would not be here without your extraordinary fatherly efforts. So everybody help me wish my dad a happy birthday. He is a great man, and I know he's listening. So there we have it. Excellent. So, by the way, Mike McDonald's birthday today, too. Our fearless leader of the Republican Party. So wishing Mike a happy birthday as well. I didn't know this, that he and my dad shared the same birthday. So now there's that. And yes, we got to have a conversation about some of these people running in the state. You'd think there's some better talent out there. Yes. So I'm getting your emails. I'm trying to respond to them. I know this week I've been ragging on everything, but Diana, I hear you, and I've raised these issues. I got an email here. I'm responding. It's between me and Diana, Robbie. Don't worry about it. By the way, Sam@SamandAshLaw is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. So there it is. Okay. The despondent Democrats, Alexander Vindman. The Vindman brothers. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, this is these are all the people that thought, that Trump would never come back, that devoted every bit of energy into slaying Trump, and none of it worked. Now Trump's back in office. He's stronger than ever. He's popular. Everything that the left has done to attack Trump has backfired. And all these people have to say now is, it's the worst. So here's Vindman sharing his thoughts on how this presidency is going.
To this point, this country has always had the American dream. It's been alive. When you come to this country as a refugee, not speaking any English, but learning English, decades of education, military service, and end up in Congress representing almost 800,000 Americans, what better representation of the American dream is there? And that's been true up until this point, but we're seeing such a rapid retreat in these first 45 days. Like I said, it's an abomination. I'm hard-pressed to think of a worse 45 days self-inflicted by any administration in this country's history, whether it's turning away from our values or damaging the country and the economy and predictability. I mean, it's terrible. And I think the American people are waking up to this threat and making their voices heard.
So, Vindman, of course, famous for turning Trump in during the second impeachment trial, saying he's the one who testified against Trump about that phone call to Ukraine. Him and his brother Eugene Vindman are both just snakes in the deep state grass. And I guess, what do I have in common with Mr. Vindman? Well, he was born in Ukraine. I wasn't born in Eastern Europe. My parents were, but I was born in this country shortly after my parents arrived. And like Mr. Vindman, I didn't speak English when I went to school. As into preschool, I remember even first grade struggled with English because it's not my first language. I obviously was raised with a far deeper love for this country. I have a love for this country. I don't have a love always for this government. In fact, I've grown even now, with my guy elected, I'm still very suspicious of the government. And I'm suspicious of the government, actually, because of people like Vindman, who is an absolute weasel, a snake, okay? He's this, okay. All right, he got a Purple Heart. I understand. He was injured in an IED attack in Iraq, all right? And then he became a foreign area officer specializing in Eurasia and went into the NSC. And this is a guy that was, supposedly working on behalf of, an impartial intelligence community advising the president of the United States, but he was really working behind the scenes to derail the Trump presidency. And so this is a guy, the reason I bring this little gem up, and he's making the rounds decrying how bad things are right now. This is the guy that was part of, in Trump's first term, a real organized and actually, unfortunately, effective resistance to the Trump agenda. But look at him now. He got nothing, right? He doesn't have, he's on the outs. Okay? Isn't his wife in Congress? No. Is he now a congressman? No, he's not. I don't think he's currently. No, but he's this guy who in Trump's first administration, there were so many of these anti-Trump leftists who still were in these critical key positions. And they all worked to undermine Trump. And now they're gone. They're out. They're on the periphery. And they're freaking out because they realize that Trump learned from his mistakes and realize that these people have to be disposed of, and they're getting rid of them as quickly as they possibly can. So no, I mean, I'm pointing this out. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and it's great. So. By the way, we didn't really get into Alyssa Slotkin's speech. This was the Democrat retort on Tuesday night. She's the one who gave the Democratic rebuttal. But she ran as a moderate. This is what's so funny about it. These Democrats all pretend to be very moderate. They run as moderates, and then they radicalize once elected. This was a good part. This is where she says that Trump doesn't love America. Like, I don't know where she even got this. Absolutely insanity.
While we're on the subject of Elon Musk, is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what they do with your private data.
Well, that was her bitching about Elon Musk. I accidentally pushed the wrong button, Robbie. That's on me. Here is her doubting Trump's patriotism. But it's interesting, right? I mean, let's go to the DOGE thing while we're talking. She doesn't think 20-year-olds are mature enough to do that job. So 20-year-olds, according to Ms. Slotkin, are not mature enough to operate computers, but 13-year-olds should decide whether or not to get irreversible gender reassignment surgery. It's worth considering. Okay, so here's what she said about Trump's patriotism. Wow.
I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week.
Is this really, because Vindman, by the way, says this kind of stuff too. Is this really what the left thinks? I mean, do they actually believe it, or is this a talking point? It comes across as just a talking point, and it's so disingenuous that I think, I think that's why we just dismiss it out of hand. But what if they do believe it? You think Trump here is doing what he's doing because he wants America to be weakened? Where was Ms. Slotkin in the last 4 years with bumbling Biden and his refusal to engage with foreign leaders, to engage with our adversaries, to engage with Republicans or even members of his own party? Where was Ms. Slotkin when we humiliated ourselves and lost lives of brave patriots in the ridiculous withdrawal from Afghanistan? All of this created by an administration that cared more about virtue signaling on LGBTQIA plus minus than they did about having a capable and fighting military force. This rebuttal speech was so pathetic. I don't know. There are a couple of other moments from this, but I have to say, this is going to be a long winter for Democrats. That is my prediction. Yeah. So Puxatani Phil says, prepare for more winter, Democrats. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Be right back in a moment. Well, this is funny. Of course, Senator Kennedy, Louisiana, quote, I think Elon Musk is a rock star. The tofu crowd is mad, but when you trim fat, pigs squeal. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. I think that's a huge part of this anti-DOGE sentiment. Certainly, I do. By the way, I just played before the break a couple of clips from Melissa Slotkin, who is a Democrat from Senator from Michigan, Democrat, who gave the rebuttal speech, the Democrats' fiery response after Trump's speech. 0 people watched this, I think. And that's because everybody saw Trump's speech. It was wildly entertaining, positive. Everybody felt good, and then went home. Turned the TV off and said, that's enough. So poor Senator Slotkin, okay, gets into this. But, you know, I tell you, it was so bad. It was so bad. Now, just before I went on air, so 2 hours ago, I'm sitting on my phone and I come across on X an interview that Tucker did with Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, who is Sam Bankman-Fried? He's the crypto guy that got busted, right? He's the mega donor, the top, I think he was the #1 donor to Biden in 2020. So he gets busted, huge scam. I think, what was it, $30 billion gone. And he was the kid with the giant fro, the voice. He had the voice, and he talked like a squirrel on meth. It's probably something USAID gave money for to some organization to determine what squirrels on meth are like. If it's good, in fact, to give squirrels meth or not. Yeah, somebody somewhere made $20 million. I am certain of it. I'm confident. But Sam Bankman-Fried had the voice, and he was hyper, like Adderall strung out. He, by the way, claimed, so I started watching it. I couldn't finish the whole thing because, alas, duty calls, and I don't think you guys wanted to listen to me, watch Tucker Carlson here for the first 15 minutes of my show. So I didn't do that, but I did get to a point in it, about 11 minutes in, and I told Robbie to grab this particular point because it was so damn fascinating. Here is Sam Bankman-Fried getting asked by Tucker Carlson the $1 million question. Okay? Why is it that in spite of giving all this money to Democrats, they didn't take care of you? The Department of Justice went after you and slit your throat. And by the way, we know that, normies will say, well, but he was a criminal. Yeah, well, Podesta was a criminal. Lots of Democratic criminals who got away with it years and years. This one pervert in New York and Florida named Jeff Epstein got away with a whole lot, okay? So why did they turn on SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried? Here's the exchange. I thought you guys would love to hear this.
You gave so much to Democrats that I kind of thought they would rescue you in the end. Where were all your friends in the Democratic Party? They usually keep their friends from going to jail. Tony Podesta never went to jail. Why did you?
Oh, it's a really good question. Obviously, I can only guess at the answer to that. I can only speculate because I'm not in their minds. But, one fact that might be relevant is, in 2020, I was center left and I gave to Biden's campaign. I was optimistic he'd be a sort of solid center left president. I spent the next few years in DC a lot. Made dozens of trips there and was really, really shocked by what I saw, not in a good direction from the administration. By late 2022, I was giving to Republicans privately as much as Democrats. And that started becoming known right around FTX's collapse. So that probably played a role.
Isn't that fascinating? Everything was hunky-dory. Here, I'm going to do one of those Gavin Newsom shimmies. Everything was hunky-dory so long as he was simply funneling money to Democrats. The minute that he started giving money to Republicans, all hell broke loose. I know what some of you are thinking. Sam, come on. That doesn't actually matter. And I'm reminded of, I think it was in season 2 of House of Cards. In season 2 of House of Cards, right, the show that, a political show, fundamentally, right? We had the, Congressman Frank Underwood, I think was his name. Played by the way, one of the best actors of all time, who completely got railroaded. But I don't want to get distracted. So anyway, but the premise of it is that there is an internal dispute, and a very major donor to congressional Democrats starts giving money to congressional Republicans, and all hell breaks loose. Now, the reason that it is a storyline plot in a political show that is written by people who are very familiar with how DC works okay, is because that's exactly how things go down behind the scenes. And giving $10 here and giving $10 there, when previously you used to give $20 only to there and not to here, okay? That can really piss people off politically. And would the Biden administration take retaliatory action? Well, I mean, let's look at, January 6ers. Let's look at Trump. Let's look at anybody that they didn't like. Of course. I believe it. 100%. You can't discount this stuff, right? You can't just kind of blow it off and say it didn't, it's not relevant. So I look forward to hearing the rest of that interview. And this is, by the way, why you ought to be on X right now. X is the place to be. There may come a time where this program exists only on X. I don't want to scare you. I'm not planning to leave the airwaves anytime soon, but I'm just saying, like, that's the future. That's where media is. So get on X, follow me at What's Right Sam, at What's Right Show, and follow Tucker, because he has these great interviews on there that are absolutely fantastic. And I doubt Tucker's going to sit down and do a long form interview where he holds or doesn't hold, Gavin Newsom's feet to the fire. We can't be normalizing these crazy Democrats. He's got a record. It's absurd. We would think that suddenly he just says something and, oh, he's a moderate. Oh, it's so wonderful. Bad idea, Charlie Kirk. Bad idea. Just my 10 cents. All right, friends. Have a wonderful Thursday. Again, a happy birthday to my dad, and wishing him the best birthday. And I look forward to seeing him this weekend. Friends, thank you for everything that you do. I love our couple hours that we get together each day, Monday through Friday, right here on News Talk 840 KXNT. At What's Right Sam, Sam at salmonashlaw.com. And of course, the podcast, What's Right Show, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. I'll see you tomorrow.